Hi everybody, quick reminder, don't forget to check out the on-screen end cards towards the end of the video, as well as the merch shelf and links down in the description below to explore my new Outcast comic book series. And I just have to say that I genuinely appreciate all of the support that's been shown for this new adventure. Now I hope you're having a great day, and let's dive in to Bigby Wolf, who was originally known as the classical children's tale character Big Bad Wolf, but now he's the central protagonist of the DC Vertigo comic series known as Fables, that was introduced in its first issue in July of 2002, and its prequel game known as The Wolf Among Us. Bigby himself is a complex subversion of the classical fairy tale antagonist, evolving from a monstrous predator into a stoic, cigarette-smoking detective who serves as the Sheriff of Fabletown. In human form, he stands 5 feet 8 inches tall and seems to weigh around 180 to 190 pounds, having brown eyes and brown hair. And as a side note, he happens to be the husband of Snow White. Yes, that classical fairy tale Snow White. However, when he's fully transformed into his massive wolf form, he's much larger. Now, Bigby's lineage is elemental and divine. He was born to Winter, a giant white wolf, and the North Wind, who's a powerful elemental deity. As the runt of his litter, he was mockingly dubbed as the Big Bad Wolf by his larger brothers. But following his father's abandonment and his mother's death, Bigby swore a blood oath of vengeance and to gain the strength to kill a god. He vowed to eat something bigger every single day, eventually growing to an enormous, almost elephant-like size. Now, during his era as a predator, Bigby committed the acts for which he's most famous for in folklore, including his encounters with Little Red Riding Hood and the Three Little Pigs. Matter of fact, his Huff and Puff ability is actually a magical inheritance from his father, allowing him to control the winds. Now, when we see the adversary's forces begin conquering the homelands, Bigby met Snow White during the Great Exodus to New York. She offered him redemption and a place in Fabletown as its sheriff due to his enhanced senses and tracking abilities. To allow him to pass as human, Snow White used a lycanthropy-stained knife to cut him. And because Bigby was already a full-blown wolf, the quote-unquote curse of the werewolf worked in reverse, granting him the ability to shapeshift into a human form at will. Now, in the modern day, serving as Fabletown Sheriff, he's a Noir detective and a rumpled trench coat wearing individual, chain-smoking the Huff and Puff brand cigarettes to dull his overstimulated senses. You see, his superhuman sense of smell is so acute that without the numbing effect of tobacco, the scents of a city like New York would be agonizing. Bigby's investigative skills eventually brought him into the DC universe proper in the miniseries Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham. In this crossover, Bigby travels to an alternate Gotham City to retrieve a stolen magical spellbook. His arrival happens to coincide with a series of brutal wolf-like murders, leading Batman to mistake Bigby for the killer. The two world's greatest detectives initially clashed, with Bigby initially being overcome, but then escaping from the Batcave by utilizing his wind powers to nearly level the structure. Nevertheless, they eventually form a reluctant alliance to stop the Bookworm, a villain utilizing Fable magic, and discover that the Fable spy Cinderella has been operating undercover in Gotham as well. This run highlights Bigby's status as a tactical equal to the Dark Knight, proving his legendary tracking skills translate even to the grittiest corners of the DC multiverse. And since he seems to be functionally immortal with an advanced healing factor, the legends of Bigby Wolf will most likely live on to future generations of children to come. Now, for his powers and abilities and his influence on the DC universe and fictional fairy tales in general, for my 1 to 10 rating, I'll give Bigby Wolf, aka the Big Bad Wolf, a rating of 6, which is an expert rating. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you next time. Be sure to like, hype, and subscribe to The New Sage.